Frasier's Seattle apartment once felt like a place we could always run back to, but behind the laughter was a different story. We are talking private grief, shattered relationships, very public scandals, and sudden losses no fan saw coming. Still, some rebuilt, a few returned decades later. Others are gone from the rooms they once brought to life. Here is the cast of Frasier then and now. In 2026, Doctor Frasier Crane remains that brilliant therapist who can unpack a stranger's mind in seconds, yet spend a whole hour totally blind to his own heart. Kelsey Grammar was 38 when Frasier debuted in 1993, bringing his Cheers character to a new life in Seattle. Frasier is cultured, articulate, and deeply proud, endlessly convinced that logic can somehow organize every part of existence. But beneath the opera, the fine wine, and those carefully picked words lies a pretty lonely guy looking for love, validation, and peace. Grammar turns that very contradiction into both comedy and genuine emotion. Frasier can be incredibly generous one minute, then impossibly arrogant the next, especially when squaring off with Niles or clashing with Martin. His call-in show lets him advise thousands of listeners, while his own messy love life constantly shows just how hard self-knowledge really is. He endures because those glaring flaws never actually erase his basic humanity. They actually expose it. In 2026, Kelsey Grammar is 71, having spent decades working in television, film, voice acting, and theater, while his off-screen life held major tragedy and controversy, along with very public struggles. He eventually returned to Frasier in a recent revival, giving the character a whole new chapter. Frasier Crane is still unforgettable because Grammar made high intelligence feel so vulnerable. He was that polished voice giving answers to the world, while secretly hoping someone might finally understand him. Dr. Niles Crane is sheer refinement balanced, right on the razor edge of panic. He is a man who can correct the tiniest grammatical slip while completely losing control of his own feelings. David Hyde Pierce was only 34 when Frasier debuted in 1993, and his incredibly precise physical comedy made Niles an instant fan favorite. Niles is elegant, fiercely competitive, anxious, and somehow even more particular than Frasier himself, making their brotherly rivalry feel both hilarious and deeply affectionate. PDS could show a total emotional breakdown with just a brief pause, a twitch, or a single glance toward Daphne. That slow, burning, unspoken love quickly became the show's beating heart. Since Niles can almost never say what he actually feels, his quiet longing is both hilarious and painful, and pretty hard to hide. Meanwhile, his bond with Frasier shows two brothers constantly at each other's throats, yet totally lost without one another. Pierce always gave Niles real dignity, even at his most absurd, making pure awkwardness look almost graceful. In 2026, David Hyde Pierce is 67. He built a highly respected career across theater, film, television, and directing. He earned major acclaim on Broadway, choosing exactly what he wanted to do. Ultimately, he chose not to return for the recent revival, keeping the character of Niles beautifully preserved. Niles endures because Pierce made repression absolutely hilarious, his devotion heartbreaking, and the tiniest physical gesture feel like a massive confession. Now, Roz Doyle is that sharp, grounded presence who keeps Frasier Crane from completely drowning in opera, ego, and endless self-analysis. Perry Gilpin was 32 when Frasier premiered in 1993, giving Rose a raw confidence that perfectly balanced the show's theatrical brothers. Working as Frasier's producer at KACL, Roz knows radio, she knows people, and she definitely knows the difference between giving advice and living it. She is highly capable, incredibly direct, and totally unapologetic about her personal life. The show loved to joke about her dating history, but Gilpin never let Rose become the butt of some cheap gag. Beneath that sarcasm is deep loyalty, real vulnerability, and a strong sense of self-respect. Her bond with Frasier grows into one of the show's most solid connections because it is built on raw honesty, not fantasy. Roz is the one who can call him out, tease him, protect him, and still stand by him when his confidence crumbles. In 2026, Perry Gilpin is 65 after Frasier. She kept busy with roles in television, film, and voice acting. She also returned for the Frasier revival, letting longtime viewers see Roz decades after their original Seattle story wrapped up. Roz endures because Gilpin made independence feel incredibly warm, not cold. She was the producer behind the glass who saw through every massive ego while still caring deeply about the person inside. Finally, Martin Crane is the retired cop whose duct-taped recliner, cheap beer, that raw honesty turned Frasier's fancy apartment into a place that actually felt like a home. John Mahoney was 53 when Frasier premiered in 1993. He gave Martin the emotional weight that kept the show grounded, not just a snobby comedy. On the surface, Martin is the exact opposite of his sons. He prefers baseball over opera, plain talk over theory, and simple comfort over high class, but underneath lies a father carrying real pain, old grief, and years of emotional distance. Mahoney plays him with such warmth and quiet restraint, letting Martin's love show through cheap jokes, grumbling, and tiny acts of loyalty instead of big speeches. His bond with Frasier and Niles is the heart of the show. Three different men learning that love does not erase the differences. It just outlasts them. The dog Eddie and that ugly recliner are great jokes, but Martin really exists to teach his brilliant sons that being smart without being humble just leaves you lonely. John Mahoney passed away on February 4, 2018. At 77, outside of Frasier, he built a highly respected career in theater, television, and film. Stage work was his true love, but Martin's legacy lives on because Mahoney made fatherhood feel messy, stubborn, and deeply real. He proved that home is nothing fancy, just an old recliner, a faithful dog, and a family finally willing to stay. Bob Bulldog Briscoe storms into KACL like an obnoxious alarm that nobody can turn off. He is loud, aggressive, insanely competitive, and dead set on proving he runs the room. Dan Butler was 39 when Frasier started in 1993. He packed Bulldog with enough wild energy to make him the radio station's loudest highlight. With his obnoxious catchphrases, terrible love life, and massive ego, the guy seems completely indestructible. Yet Butler always exposes the sad insecurity hiding under that noise. Bulldog is terrified of being rejected or ignored, so he makes himself impossible to miss. That weakness does not excuse his bad behavior, but it turns him into a real human instead of a cartoon. In a show packed with fancy talk and massive egos, Bulldog brings a much rougher style. Version of that exact same need. He just wants to be respected. Butler mixes loud bravado and sheer panic beautifully, showing us the pure emotional desperation in his absolute worst moments. Right now, Dan Butler is 72 years old. Since the show, he has built a strong career in television, film, and theater. He also dedicated himself to projects with Lubbock themes, proving his talent went way beyond just playing a loud radio jock. Bulldog works because Butler made his loud swagger look fragile. That booming radio voice was just hiding a guy who was terrified the world would stop listening. Kenny Daly plays the stressed station manager who looks like he got promoted 5 minutes before everything started going wrong. Tom McGowan was 39 when he joined the cast in 1998. He gave Kenny a soft, nervous vibe that made him stand out from the massive egos at KACL. Kenny is absolutely not scary, cunning, or confident. He is just a sweet, anxious guy trying to keep the peace while constantly overwhelmed by his wild staff. That normal vibe makes him so relatable, especially while Frasier, Rose, Bulldog, and Jill put on huge shows for the mic. Kenny is the only guy who just wants the radio station to make it through the day without exploding. McGowan plays him with real heart instead of making him a fool, letting the laughs come from a good man trapped in a job he is not ready for. His presence really softens the office dynamic in those later seasons. Today, Tom McGowan is 67 years old. After the show, he kept working steadily across Broadway, television, and film, taking on both funny and serious roles. He has a unique gift for making small supporting characters feel approachable and deeply human. Kenny works because McGowan made his self-doubt feel lovable. He is just a regular guy managing massive egos while holding on to his patience, kindness, and the hope that people will finally act like grown-ups. Jill Chesterton delivers food reviews as if he were performing Shakespeare on London's grandest stage. Edward Hibbert was 39 when he joined the show, and his fancy voice, perfect timing, and theatrical flair made Gil impossible to forget. As the food critic at KACL, Gil shares the same high-class tastes as Frasier and Niles, but he turns every single opinion into theater. A bad dinner is never just disappointing. It is a tragedy of epic proportions. Hibbert knew that real comedy requires perfect poise. Jill rarely has to raise his voice. Every single word he chooses drips with enough vanity, judgment, and delight to fill the room. And yet, he never feels completely hollow. His obsession with taste and presentation shows a man who built his entire identity on sophistication, refusing to let real life ruin the show. At KACL, he adds another massive ego to an already packed station, standing out with his pure theatrical flair. In 2026, Edward Hibbert is 71. Far beyond Frasier, he built a stellar career across theater, television, movies, and voice work. He also earned deep respect as a literary agent, connecting him to the art of storytelling from the other side of the desk. Gil endures because Hibbert made every single line feel prepped, plated, and served, proof that a minor character becomes unforgettable when every word feels like the final course of some lavish feast. Noel Shasky is the socially awkward KACL worker whose deep love of science fiction and hopeless crush on Rose make him both funny and oddly sweet. Patrick Kerr was 38 when he first joined Frasier, giving Noel the raw, nervous energy of a guy who knows he does not fit with the station's us alpha dogs. Noel talks way too fast, completely misses social cues, and turns his crush on Rose into total embarrassment. Yet Kerr keeps a genuine innocence beneath the heavy awkwardness. Noel is not out to boss or manipulate anyone here. He just wants friends, respect, and maybe the chance that someone might actually value the quirky hobbies that make him look weird to others. His obsession with Star Trek gives him a unique lane in office where everyone else is just as crazy, just about normal stuff. Frasier lives for opera, Gil has his food, Bulldog has sports, and Noel has a galaxy where outcasts actually get to be heroes. By 2026, Patrick Kerr is 70. After Frasier, he kept busy with TV, stage, and film, relying on the weird timing and unique vibe that made Noel stand out. His career has stayed solid, even without massive headlines. Noel sticks with us because Kerr made social awkwardness feel sweet, not pathetic, the office outcast whose dream was not to fit in, but just to be seen, respected, and loved exactly as he was. Gertrude Moon rolls into Seattle, bringing heavy baggage, harsh judgments, and enough drama to completely wreck the quiet Crane household. Millicent Martin was 66 when she joined Frasier back in 2000, giving Daffin's mother an aggressive theatrical energy that turned every entrance into a straight-up invasion. Gertrude is nosy, demanding, loud, and totally exhausting. She drags all the toxic baggage of Daphne's childhood right into her romance with Niles, making sure the honeymoon phase gets hit with a heavy dose of real-world drama. Yet Martin lets raw loneliness and fear show beneath the constant criticism. Gertrude whines because she feels completely useless, displaced, and terrified of getting left behind. That fear never makes her likable, but it keeps her from being just some cheap cartoon. She is the proof that real love stories never happen in a vacuum. They bring messy relatives, old scars, heavy duties, and habits formed long before the couple even met. In 2026, Millicent Martin is 92. Long before Frasier, she built a massive career across British and American TV, music, and Broadway. Her powerful stage voice and sharp timing gave Gertrude a precision that made her worst behavior incredibly fun to watch, and she absolutely nailed it. Gertrude works because Martin made family drama feel funny, painful, and too real. The nagging relative at the door, reminding you that love promises escape, but your past always knows the address. Donnie Douglas becomes the most heartbreaking obstacle between Niles and Daphne for one simple reason. He is not a bad guy. Saul Rubin was 51 when he joined Frasier in 1999. Giving Donnie an instant warmth, humor, and raw sincerity that made Daphne's ultimate choice incredibly tough. Donnie is successful, deeply loving, funny, and totally crazy about her. He does not deserve to get hurt, which forces the show to admit that true love still leaves innocent casualties in its wake. Rubin plays him with a down-to-earth energy that clashes perfectly with the snobbery of the Crane brothers. Donnie might look a bit messy or unpolished, but he is emotionally honest in a way Niles never quite figured out. When Daphne dumps him, the jokes cannot mask the pain. His anger and heartbreak show the weight of a guy whose entire future was rewritten without his say-so. That brutal honesty gives their love story way more weight than some cheap fairy tale ending ever could. In 2026, Saul Rubinek is 78. After Frasier, he built a massive career directing, producing, writing, and acting, gaining a whole new following in Warehouse 13 and dozens of other roles. Donnie endures because Saul Rubinek made the guy left behind impossible to dismiss, a reminder that every celebrated love story might hide someone else's broken promise. Dr. Lilith Sternin can freeze an entire room with just one sentence. But beneath that icy composure lies one of Frasier's most complicated relationships. Bebe Neuwirth was 34 when Frasier started in 1993, bringing back the character she created on Cheers. Lilith is sharp, intense, and easily tears down Frasier's massive ego without ever raising her voice. Their marriage is over, yet the old spark, bitterness, and warmth and deep history instantly flare up. Bebe Neuwirth Lilla's real strength lies in quiet stillness. Just a cold stare or a perfectly timed remark cuts deeper than any loud screaming match. But she is not just a block of ice. That rigid control masks a deep loneliness and the pain of loving a man who shares her exact flaws. Because of their son, Freddie, they are permanently locked together. They are brilliant minds who can dissect anything except the wreckage of their own failed relationship. In 2026, Bebe Neuwirth is 68. She built an incredible career on Broadway and film, earning awards for both musicals and serious drama. Lilith remains unforgettable because Bebe Neuwirth made her tight control feel dangerous yet deeply human, a woman hiding complex emotions. Then came Renee Lawrence, entering Martin Crane's life with music, bold confidence, and the easy self-awareness of a woman done pretending to be young. Wendy Malick was 53 when she joined Frasier in 2003, giving Ronee the charm to win Martin's heart. The comedy is instant because she actually used to babysit both Frasier and Niles, but she truly fits his world. Ronee is fun, worldly, and fiercely independent. She loves Martin exactly as he is, and he responds to her strength with warmth instead of fear. Their bond brings the final season a beautiful sense of closure. After years of grief and deep loneliness, Martin finally gets to look forward to a happy partnership. Wendy Malick keeps their love real instead of sappy, building it on laughs, attraction, and mutual understanding. In 2026, Wendy Malick is 75, turning 76 this coming December. Her massive career spans Just Shoot Me, Hot in Cleveland, brilliant voiceover work, and dozens of dry, witty TV roles. Renee works because Malick made finding love late in life feel completely natural. A sweet final chapter right when we thought his romantic story was done. Julia Wilcox arrives at Cat with sharp opinions and absolutely zero desire to please Frasier Crane. Felicity Huffman was 41 when she joined the final season in 2003, infusing Julia with a defensive spark that made her clashes with Frasier instant fire. She refuses to stroke his ego, completely unimpressed by his elite schooling or fancy radio voice. She is blunt, competitive, and highly challenging. And yet, those exact traits mirror Frasier. Our own stubborn arrogance. Friction sparks their romance, but it quickly implodes because neither can drop the smug attitude. Huffman plays Julia as more than a simple villain. That sharp tongue clearly hides a woman guarding herself, while Frasier's obsession exposes his constant habit of mistaking dramatic chaos for true love. Their brief fling becomes yet another case of him chasing the one person who will destroy his peace. In 2026, Felicity Huffman is 63, turning 64 in December. After Frasier, she won massive acclaim on Desperate Housewives, continuing to land powerful dramatic roles on screen. Later, the college admissions scandal complicated her life, reshaping how the public viewed her off-screen story. Julia remains a fan favorite because Huffman made chemistry feel smart, combative, and totally explosive, a romance exciting enough to start, but far too exhausting to last. Frederick Crane is the son who shows how hard fatherhood gets for a therapist who can advise strangers but cannot handle distance, divorce, or time. Trevor Einhorn was only 8 when he first played Frederick, the son of Frasier and Lilith. Mostly raised in Boston, Frederick visits Seattle, bringing along intelligence, curiosity, and the complicated emotions of belonging. To two analytical parents living separate lives, his presence immediately changes Frasier. The confident radio therapist becomes anxious, eager to impress, and painfully aware that his son lives elsewhere. Einhorn lets Frederick grow from a smart kid into a teenager with opinions Frasier does not quite understand. Their scenes really matter because they show the exact limits of good intentions. Frasier loves his son, but love cannot automatically fix a long absence. Each visit is a race to build closeness before time runs out. In 2026, Trevor Einhorn is 37 and turns 38 in November. Unlike many child stars who disappear from show business, he kept acting as an adult, landing a role in Mad Men and starring in The Magicians. Frederick survives because Einhorn made Frasier's fatherhood emotionally real. He was the kid who reminded a relationship expert that understanding your own family is the hardest job of all. Simon Moon brings loud, reckless chaos into the neat Crane home, making it impossible for Daphne's messy family history to stay a distant joke. Anthony LaPaglia was 41 when he debuted as Simon in 2000, playing Daphne's brother with reckless charm and zero self-awareness. He drinks heavily, overstays every single welcome, flirts terribly, and treats basic responsibility like a major personal offense. His presence deeply embarrasses Daphne, drives Frasier crazy, and throws a massive wrench into Niles' plans for a perfect romance. Still, Simon serves a real purpose, proving that Daphne's own family is just as difficult and demanding as the Cranes, making her sweet warmth feel less accidental and more like a survival skill. LaPaglia gives Simon enough chaotic energy and humor to stay entertaining even when everyone else has completely had it. In 2026, LaPaglia is 67. Beyond Frasier, he built a massive career in movies and television, starting without a trace, and earned acclaim on stage. Simon works because LaPaglia made family embarrassment impossible to ignore. The unexpected relative arrives to wreck the illusion of order, proving that nobody enters a new relationship without bringing all their baggage along. Lana Gardner bursts back from Frasier's high school days, bringing enough wild energy to completely strip away his decades of fake sophistication. Jean Smart was 49 when she first played Lana. The high school crush Frasier had spent years idealizing from afar. Seeing her again kills the romantic fantasy. Instead, it exposes the deeply insecure boy still hiding beneath his adult success. Around Lana, Frasier gets incredibly anxious and desperate for approval, while she stays loud, blunt, and totally unimpressed by his fancy act. Smart plays her with raw energy and real vulnerability, showing that Lana's sharp edges come from a life full of frustration, heavy duties, and unmet needs. She is definitely not the dream girl from Frasier's memory, which is exactly why this works. The past returns not to comfort him, but to correct him. In 2026, Jean Smart is 74 and turns 75 in September. Her incredible career reached massive new heights later on through 24, Fargo, Watchmen, Mayor of Easttown, and Hacks, making her one of TV's most celebrated late career stars. Lana works because Smart made nostalgic memories crash right into reality. She is the dream girl who opens the door, speaks the brutal truth, and proves that the past rarely looks the way we remember it. Sherry Dempsey injects loud laughter, noise, and pure warmth straight into the Crane family as uptight, hyper-controlled world. Marsha Mason was 55 when she first played Sherry back in 1997, and she gave Martin's girlfriend an easy confidence that immediately threw Frasier and Niles off balance. Sherry is affectionate, outgoing, and totally comfortable in her own skin. She loves dirty jokes, loud music, and a style the brothers call unrefined. But their deep embarrassment honestly says a lot more about them than it does about her. Sherry matters because she exposes the exact limits of Frasier and Niles' tolerance. They think they are highly sophisticated and open-minded, yet they completely fail to accept anyone who does not meet their tastes. Mason plays her with plenty of warmth to explain Martin's attraction, and enough strong independence to keep her from ever begging for their approval. Her connection with Martin shows that joy can show up in ways his sons do not even recognize. By 2026, Marcia Mason is 84. She kept building a stellar career across film, TV, and theater, adding to decades of Oscar-nominated work. Her work still shines with emotional honesty and charm. Sherry endures because Mason made happiness feel loud, big, and completely unbothered by elegance. She reminded the Crane brothers that you can laugh too loud, talk too much, and still bring real light into a home. Kirby Gardner walks into Frasier's life looking like a kid with zero direction and absolutely no rush. Brian Klugman was 26 when he first played Lana's son back in 2001. He gave Kirby a lazy, good-natured drift that challenged Frasier in a totally unexpected way. Frasier usually hands highbrow advice to grown-ups who actually want it. Kirby demands patience, real encouragement, and looking past the surface. At first, he looks like a total slacker, but beneath that lazy shell is a young guy who has never figured out what he is capable of. Klugman plays him with genuine warmth and sincerity, letting Kirby's real potential show up slowly over time. This odd dynamic gives Frasier a rare mentoring role, showing that helping someone is often less about dropping profound wisdom and more about seeing a kid everyone else gave up on. By 2026, Brian Klugman is 51. After Frasier, he kept working as an actor, writer, and director, both on screen and behind the scenes. His creative journey grew far past the lazy, drift-along kid he brought to life on the show. Kirby lingers because Klugman made wasted potential feel deeply human. The seemingly unremarkable kid who finally starts to grow when someone expects more from him without treating him like a disappointment. Charlotte steps in near the end of Frasier's Seattle run, offering something his past relationships never could. Possibility without the illusion. Laura Linney was 39 when she joined the final season. She plays a struggling matchmaker whose own love life is just as messy as the clients she tries to help. Charlotte is warm, practical, sharp, and beautifully flowed. She sees right through his theatrical act without humiliating him, finding the lonely man underneath all the high-class polish. Their connection gives the finale its real emotional punch because it offers absolutely no guarantees. Frasier has to choose stay safe inside the comfortable life he built or risk everything on a love that might crash. Linny brings a quiet, sincere dignity to the part, making Charlotte feel less like a TV prize and more like a real human who forces Frasier to finally grow up. By 2026, Laura Linney is 62. After Frasier, she kept building a massive career across film, television, and theater, earning praise in John Adams, The Big C, and Ozark, and countless dramatic performances marked by deep emotional truth. Charlotte endures because Linney made Hope feel fully mature. She is the woman past Seattle, the ultimate question mark on Frasier's long journey. Whether a man who spent his life analyzing love could finally drop everything to chase it. Then Diane Chambers walks back into Frasier's world, dragging the heavy baggage of their Boston past. Shelley Long was 45 when she stepped back into the role on Frasier, resurrecting that brilliant, theatrical, dramatic woman who defined his early years on Cheers. Diane is never just a guest star. She is a living ghost. Her return stirs up old warmth, shame, and bitter resentment, and resurrects the man who once dreamed of a totally different life. Long acts with the exact same delicate balance that made her famous, fiercely smart, yet totally lost inside, hiding behind high-flown speeches to dodge the painful truth underneath. She is a stark reminder that Frasier's dysfunctional love life did not start when he landed in Seattle. His habit of chasing impossible fantasies and performing romance was locked in long before he ever hit the airwaves. By 2026, Shelley Long is 76, turning 77 this August. After Cheers and Frasier, she kept acting on TV and film, but Diane always remained the shadow she could never quite escape. That tie brought her endless love, but also the heavy shadow of one massive character. Diane endures because Long made unresolved love feel brilliant, ridiculous, and deeply painful. The ghost who leaves your life but never truly vanishes. Like an echo, a lesson, and a conversation you never quite finished. Daphne Moon enters the Crane apartment as Martin's therapist and somehow becomes the warmth holding the entire household together. Jane Leeves was 32 when Frasier premiered in 1993. She gave Daphne a mix of eccentricity, kindness, humor, and emotional intelligence that softened the show's sharper edges. Her stories about her family, strange psychic visions, and Manchester roots give her a rhythm totally different from Frasier and Niles. But beneath the comedy is a woman who sees the emotional needs the brothers hide behind big words. She takes care of Martin without ever treating him as helpless, challenges Frasier without being intimidated, and unknowingly become the center of Niles' long, painful devotion. Their connection works because it grows through years of glances, mischances, and friendship, and deep emotional trust. Leaves allows Daphne to be far more than just the object of Niles' longing. She has her own fears, choices, and complicated past. In 2026, Jane Leeves is 65 after Frasier. She reached a whole new generation of comedy fans in Hot in Cleveland, later joining The Resident while staying active behind the scenes. Daphne endures because Leaves made her kindness feel active rather than naive. The woman who started as an employee became family, changing every room just by understanding what the people inside truly needed. The final call may have ended, but the voices of Frasier still echo in old latter, familiar rooms, and the faces no longer here. Thank you for remembering these stories. Behind the smiles. Stay with Rewind 1960s for more classic stars, hidden struggles, and memories time could never erase.